Nobody wants to kick their movie off with a bland establishing shot devoid of any visual personality. Every filmmaker wants to make a blistering impact from that initial image. And that is of course because first impressions count for so much. So I'm Amy from What Culture, and here are the 10 greatest opening shots from recent movies. 10. The Batman. Whilst it's absolutely typical for a Batman movie to open with a scene that introduces the primary villain, Matt Reeves' The Batman veered away from the spectacular set pieces that kicked off Nolan's latter 2 Batman movies for something considerably simpler and more horrific. The very first shot of the film is an instant attention grabber despite its lack of technical showiness. It's nothing more than a then unknown individual spying on an apartment through a pair of binoculars. Through the window we see a young boy dressed for Halloween who then goes and pretend kills his father, and we later find out that that father is the mayor of Gotham. The person whose eyes we're seeing through then looks up to the apartment's skylight, and after almost 2 minutes, we finally cut inside the apartment. The subsequent moments reveal that the eyes we've been looking through belong to the Riddler, and he then goes on to murder the mayor in one of the most brutal showings of force in the movie. Reeves had the confidence in his vision to linger on this long, unbroken shot of the Riddler going about his work. It was refreshingly pared down and yet still entirely artful, and generally I'd say quite impressive for a superhero movie. 9. X. Ti West's X made sure to reassure horror fans that they were in good hands from its very first, very striking opening shot. The very first shot is of a police car pulling up to a Texas farmhouse, and initially it appears that West has filmed the shot in 4:3 aspect ratio, seemingly in homage to the classic 1970s exploitation films it's indebted to. However, as the cop car pulls up, West moves his camera to reveal that the black bars at the side of the screen are actually barn doors. And so, as the camera exits the barn, the full modern widescreen ratio reveals itself. It's a fantastic statement of intent from the outset, and like the Batman's opening shot, isn't particularly ostentatious, yet has clearly a lot of thought put into it. Less genre-savvy viewers might miss it entirely, but if you're into your horror, particularly your older horrors, then I'm sure it will have got a good nod of recognition from you right out of the gate. 8. The Worst Person in the World. The critically acclaimed The Worst Person in the World is a magnificent piece of work from first shot to last, opening with an intensely alluring image that may seem simple enough. It's the simplicity of the shot that makes it work, in fact. I mean, all we're looking at is a very pretty woman in a very nice dress stood against a stunning backdrop. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? Indeed, we go on to find that the opening shot is from a scene we'll later return to, a scene in which the film's protagonist Julie stands out on the balcony of a party, smoking, staring impatiently at her phone, and clearly being bothered by something, all whilst the gorgeous Oslo landscape unfolds around her. The intrigue is immediate. We're thinking, what's bothering this woman? Where is she? Why is she so dressed up? And none of our questions get answered before we smash cut to the title card, and we're left wondering, is this really the worst person in the world? This is not what I thought they'd look like. It's entirely without spoken words, and yet it says a lot if you're paying any attention. 7. Spencer. Spencer was one of last year's most singularly beautiful films, shot with outstanding, Oscar-worthy skill by Claire Mathon, as is apparent from its jaw-dropping first shot. The opening visual is a locked-off glimpse of a frosty field in the early hours of the morning. It's very peaceful, serene, quiet. It's like a nice glimpse into the calm English countryside. We get a moment to just really enjoy nature's beauty, but after a few beats we see movement in the background, and a massive convoy of vehicles appear driving down the road. Without context, it seems like some sort of military escort. Maybe they're transporting nuclear weapons or something like that. But moments later, it's revealed to be the army detail headed to the Queen's Sandringham house to perform security checks and deliver the food the British royal family will be eating on Christmas Eve. The juxtaposition of nature's straightforward beauty with the industrious, literally military precision of the convoy is an apt metaphor for the movie, and for Diana's personal turmoil itself. And if you're sick of overanalyzing every shot in every movie, it always has to be about someone's personality or someone's feelings. If we strip that all back, it's just a nice shot. It's gorgeous before we see the cars, and then even more meaningful and thought-provoking afterwards, so it's a win-win. 6. No Time to Die. No Time to Die begins the same way that many Bond movies do, with a gun barrel opening in which 007 shoots at the screen, but things are subtly different this time around. as when Bond shoots at the screen, he ends up fading out to white, his dark figure evaporating against the white background, slyly hinting at the fate that awaits him at the film's end. Better still, the gun barrel effortlessly transitions into the first real shot of the film, in which we see our villain trekking through the snowy Norwegian wilderness. Considering how uniform and firmly regimented the gun barrel is in the annals of Bond, this was a neat way to do something different with it. 5. Drive My Car. Best Picture nominated Drive My Car may have been made for a fraction of the budget of most movies on this list, but DP Hidetoshi Shinomiya did a remarkable job wringing every possible drop of visual artistry out of it. Case in point, the opening shot is one of the most gorgeous and aesthetically pleasing in the entire film. Here we see our protagonist's wife sit up out of bed in a gorgeous silhouette against the break of Tokyo's dawn. The woman, who's a screenwriter, then begins describing her latest story to her husband, as the lingering shot finally cuts to confirm that, as expected, they're both nude in bed. It's a shot that perfectly encapsulates the movie as a whole. Sexy, meticulously crafted, and absolutely concerned with the creation and telling of stories. 4. The Mitchells vs. the Machines. The Mitchells vs. the Machines is one of the most energetic, visually dynamic animated films of the past few years, and that is established right from the get-go. It's a film so eager to get going that director Mike Rianda doesn't even wait for the typical studio idents to finish, such that an iconic opening Columbia logo is hijacked by the movie itself. Soon enough, the legendary Columbia woman holding a torch stamps her foot and transforms into a 2D animated figure, just like those drawn by protagonist Katie. She shakes her hips along to the music whilst donning a colourful gown and a pair of socks to boot. By this point, the screen is filled with an array of animated creatures with cameras and clapperboards who may or may not represent the film's crew. Before then, the Columbia woman throws the torch to the floor and signals a transition into the rest of the movie. Beyond it being just a fun reinvention of a tired logo we've seen over and over again, it was also a nice way to put in some subtle LGBT themes with the colours and flags we had at the forefront, because as much as people like to sort of skirt around it, Katie is a queer character, and they stated that right from the beginning. You love to see it. 3. West Side Story. When remaking a movie so iconic as West Side Story, you have to just take some risks and hope they pay off. I mean, the movie took these risks, and did they pay off? Looking at this opening shot, we can definitely say they did. The film opens with a frankly insane 97-second tracking shot that cranes over the rubble of various bulldozed apartments and buildings in New York City, which a sign reveals has been carried out by the New York Housing Authority to make way for the now iconic Lincoln Center for the Performing Arts. But the shot doesn't end there. It continues to move upwards and pass over the various cranes excavating the wreckage of these former apartments, dropping down past several wrecking balls and finally stopping on a trap door, which opens as a member of the Jets emerges from it. It's the first of several mind-melting tracking shots in the film, and one of those perfect moments where you stare at it, you stare at the movie magic and you go, how did they do that? Whilst it seems obvious that the shot was achieved by seamlessly combining crane shots and drone shots and probably some CGI, the overall effect is so audacious and impressive that the technical impossibility of it is not easy to forget or understate. For anyone doubtful that Spielberg could even get close to the meticulous craft of the 1961 original, this was a powerful rebuke from minute one. We're reminded in moments like this that he is a veteran filmmaker, and now in the present day we have so many more tools to just improve upon what we've had in the past. I mean, it's a shame they cast Ansel Elgort, but you know, you can't have it all. 2. The Green Knight. David Lowery's The Green Knight may not be for everyone, but it's nevertheless a visual feast from beginning to end, kicking off with one of its most unforgettable images in its very first shot, a shot that was very wisely featured extensively throughout the film's marketing. The first shot sets the mood perfectly, glimpsing upon a visage of Sir Gawain kitted out in a yellow robe whilst sat upon a throne in King Arthur's Great Hall. The crown descends onto his head before his head then bursts into flames, but he continues to stare directly at the audience as the camera pans upwards and looks towards the sky. Taken totally in isolation, just on its own, it is an absolutely mesmerizing shot. But helping further establish the film's tone is a wispy voiceover which assures the audience that this isn't the same King Arthur story they've heard so many times before. We probably could have gathered that from the guy with his head on fire, but you know. 1. Boiling Point. Yet perhaps the most interesting opening shot of any movie over the past year is not just an opening shot at all, Maybe I'm going to cheat a little here. Cheating a little bit is worth it when I get to recommend you the film Boiling Point, a movie which takes place entirely inside a swanky London restaurant as head chef Andy's life and career begin to unravel. And get this, it was filmed in one solid 90-minute take. I've got to emphasize here as well that this is a real, true all-in-oneer. We're not talking any camera magic and digital joins. This is one shot from start to finish. Something like this is not easy to pull off at all, and it requires a huge ensemble cast to all hit their marks perfectly. And the result is nothing short of incredible. As our leading man, Stephen Graham is incredible, and he's supported by a host of wonderful co-stars. We get to see their mastery in all its glory as the camera smoothly travels from table to bar, back to table to kitchen with gliding efficiency. Whilst it might be a bit of a cheat to call it an opening shot, considering it's the only shot in the entire movie, Boiling Point is a daring feat of high-wire filmmaking that absolutely needs to be seen. Anyone who's ever held a cinema camera will tell you that this takes an incredible amount of stamina to be able to carry out for 90 minutes. And anyone who's worked at a bar or a restaurant will tell you that yes, it really is like that. And with that, we've reached the end of this list of the 10 greatest opening shots in recent movies. If you can think of any more that you really think we should have included on this list, then let us know in the comments down below. And remember to check out whatculture.com for more lists and articles like this every single day. As always, I've been Amy from What Culture, and I'll catch you next time.